The way of happiness. Finding the way. Do you consider yourself to be a happy person? If so, what makes you happy? Your family? Your work? Your religious faith? Perhaps you are looking forward to something that may make you happy, such as finishing your schooling, getting a good job, or buying a new car. Many people experience a measure of happiness when they reach a certain goal or obtain a desired item. But how long does that surge of happiness last? Often, it is only temporary, which can be disappointing. Happiness has been described as a state of well-being that is characterized by relative permanence, by emotions ranging from mere contentment to deep and intense joy in living, and by a natural desire for it to continue. Further, as an ongoing state of well-being, happiness has been described not as a destination or goal, but as a journey. To say, "I'll be happy when," is in effect postponing happiness. To illustrate, compare happiness with good health. How do we enjoy that state of physical well-being? We follow a wise path in regard to diet, exercise, and overall lifestyle. Likewise, happiness results from following a good path in life, living in harmony with sound principles. What principles or qualities of life characterize the way of happiness? While some are more important than others, the following play a key role: contentment and generosity, physical health and resilience, love, forgiveness, purpose in life, hope. A highly respected book of wisdom states, "Happy are those who are blameless in their way." Psalm 119:1. Let us now consider that way. End of article. The way of happiness. Contentment and generosity. How often have you heard happiness and success measured in terms of assets or wealth? Driven by that view, millions work long, exhausting hours to make more money. But do money and possessions bring lasting happiness? What does the evidence suggest? According to the Journal of Happiness Studies, once our basic needs are met, more income does little to improve our overall happiness or our sense of well-being. Money itself is not the issue. It's the striving for money that's linked to unhappiness, states an article in the magazine Monitor on Psychology. Those words mirror this advice given in the Bible almost 2,000 years ago. The love of money is a root of all sorts of injurious things, and by reaching out for this love, some have stabbed themselves all over with many pains. 1 Timothy 6, 9 and 10. What may those pains include? Worry and loss of sleep because wealth has to be protected. Sweet is the sleep of the one serving, whether he eats little or much, but the plenty belonging to the rich one does not permit him to sleep. Ecclesiastes 5:12. Disappointment when the promised happiness fails to arrive. In part, that letdown is because a craving for money cannot be satisfied. A lover of silver will never be satisfied with silver, nor a lover of wealth with income. Ecclesiastes 5:10. Also, a hunger for wealth may move a person to sacrifice important things that do promote happiness, such as precious time spent with family and friends, or in spiritual pursuits. Grief and frustration when money or investments depreciate or fail. Do not wear yourself out to gain wealth. Stop and show understanding. When you cast your eyes on it, it is not there, for it will surely sprout wings like an eagle and fly off. Proverbs 23:4 and 5. Qualities that promote happiness. Contentment. We have brought nothing into the world, and neither can we carry anything out. So having food and clothing, we will be content with these things. 1 Timothy 6, verses 7 and 8. People who are content are not disposed to complain or grumble, and their attitude protects them against envy. And because their desires do not exceed their means, they spare themselves needless anxiety and stress. Generosity. There is more happiness in giving than there is in receiving. Acts 20:35. Generous people are happy because they enjoy making others happy, even if all they can give is a little of their time and energy. They often gain in abundance what no amount of money can buy: love, respect, and genuine friends who give generously in return. Putting people before things. Better is a dish of vegetables where there is love than a fattened bull where there is hatred. Proverbs 15:17. The point? Loving relationships with others are more valuable than material riches. And love, as we shall see later, is vital to happiness. Sabina, a woman in South America, learned the value of Bible principles. Abandoned by her husband, Sabina struggled to obtain life's necessities for herself and her 2 daughters. She held 2 jobs and daily rose at 4 a.m. Despite her grueling schedule, Sabina decided to study the Bible. The result? Her economic status remained much the same, but her outlook on life improved dramatically. For example, she gained the happiness that comes from satisfying one's spiritual need. She found true friends among fellow believers, and she experienced the happiness of giving by sharing with others what she had learned. Wisdom is vindicated by its results, the Bible says. Matthew 11:19 and footnote. On that basis, contentment and generosity, as well as putting people before things, stand thoroughly vindicated. Key points. The love of money is a root of all sorts of injurious things, and by reaching out for this love, some have stabbed themselves all over with many pains. 1 Timothy 6:10. The love of money can lead to worry and loss of sleep, disappointment, grief and frustration. Happiness comes to those who are content with what they have, are generous, put people before things. End of article. The way of happiness, physical health and resilience. Chronic ill health or disability can have a major impact on a person's life. After becoming physically paralyzed, a once active and healthy man named Ulf said, "I became deeply depressed. My strength, courage, and power drained away. I felt destroyed." Ulf's experience reminds us that none of us have complete control over our health. Still, we can take reasonable measures to reduce the risk of ill health. But what if our health deteriorates? Does that doom us to unhappiness? Not at all, as we shall see. First, though, let us consider some principles that promote good health. Be moderate in habits. 1 Timothy 3:2 and 11. Habitually eating or drinking to excess is obviously bad for our health, not to mention our finances. Do not be among those who drink too much wine, among those who gorge themselves on meat, for a drunkard and a glutton will come to poverty. Proverbs 23:20 and 21. Do not pollute your body. Let us cleanse ourselves of every defilement of flesh and spirit. 2 Corinthians 7:1. People defile their bodies when they chew or smoke tobacco, or abuse alcohol or drugs. Smoking, for example, leads to disease and disability, and harms nearly every organ of the body, says the U.S. Centers for Disease Control and Prevention. View your body and your life as precious gifts. By God, we have life and move and exist. Acts 17:28. Appreciating that fact moves us to avoid taking needless risks, whether we are at work, driving, or choosing our recreation. A momentary thrill is not worth a life of disability. Control negative emotions. Your mind and body are closely linked, so try to avoid undue anxiety, unbridled anger, envy, and other harmful emotions. Let go of anger and abandon rage, says Psalm 37:8. We also read, "Never be anxious about the next day, for the next day will have its own anxieties." Matthew 6:34. Try to focus on positive thoughts. A calm heart gives life to the body, says Proverbs 14:30. The Bible also states, "A joyful heart is good medicine," Proverbs 17:22. That is a scientifically sound statement. If you are happy, said a doctor in Scotland, you are likely in the future to have less in the way of physical illness than those who are unhappy. Build resilience. Like Ulf mentioned earlier, we may have no choice but to endure a persistent trial. Still, we can choose how we endure. Some become overwhelmed with discouragement, which may only make matters worse. If you become discouraged in the day of distress, your strength will be meager, says Proverbs 24:10. Others, perhaps after initial feelings of despair, bounce back. They adapt. They find ways to cope. That was the case with Ulf. He said that after much prayer and meditation on the Bible's positive message, he started to see opportunities instead of obstacles. Moreover, like many who undergo major trials, he learned valuable lessons in compassion and empathy, which moved him to share the Bible's comforting message with others. Another person who suffered greatly was a man named Steve. At age 15, he had an accident that paralyzed him from the neck down. By the time he was 18, he had regained the use of his arms. He then went to a university, where his life spiraled into drugs, alcohol, and sexual immorality. He had no hope until he began to study the Bible, which gave him a new outlook on life and helped him to conquer his bad habits. The emptiness that I had felt for so long was no longer there, he said. My life is now filled with peace, happiness, and contentment. Steve and Ulf's comments call to mind the words at Psalm 19:7 and 8. The law of Jehovah is perfect, restoring strength. The orders from Jehovah are righteous, causing the heart to rejoice. The commandment of Jehovah is clean, making the eyes shine. Key points. When applied, God's laws and principles restore strength, cause the heart to rejoice, and make the eyes shine. Psalm 19:7 and 8. The Bible encourages us to be moderate in habits, take good care of our body, view life as sacred, control negative emotions, focus on positive thoughts, build resilience. End of article.